Good morning to you all. The Innovation Week Zambia, where we are running under the theme Zambia at 60, promoting an innovative and entrepreneurial, an innovative and sustainable entrepreneurial ecosystem. Today, we are going to have a conversation with uh, Mr. Robert Skidmore from the International Trade Center in Geneva, where we are going to touch on the topic, on a very interesting presentation that is going to be around an interesting topic, talking of initiatives that we are going to be diving into the homegrown initiatives, homegrown approaches in as far as ecosystem building is concerned. So, Robert, it's a huge pleasure to have you with me today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Wish I could be there in person.
Sure, sure. No, the technology is there to help us to be in places we can't be physically. So we thank God for the technology. The COVID-19 pandemic sort of made us realize what we can do without necessarily getting on the plane.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I would like to invite you to just take it up and introduce yourself. Take your time and letting us know who is Rob, and also maybe in the work that you are doing currently. It's over to you, Rob.
Thanks again for having me and for the opportunity to talk. We are really big supporters at ITC of the Innovation Week and of you guys. We've been working together, I think, 3 or 4 years. So it's a pleasure to be able to be part of this. So my name is Rob Skidmore. I'm a section chief at the International Trade Center. And why I'm here is because in our section, we work a lot on digital entrepreneurship and on companies that use digital as a business model and digital as a channel for trading. But maybe I'll give you just a very quick one on ITC. So we're a UN organization. We're based in Geneva. And our job, whereas we have the UN that deals a lot with policy and we have the WTO that deals a lot with negotiations and market access, we're a kind of the child of both. And our job is to take small companies international. So to help them go to international markets, to be more competitive, to generate more trade. But we do that because we know that leads to more economic opportunity. So we work with companies in a way that they can generate employment. So we do it generally in four ways. So one is, and it's probably the one that feeds our soul the most, is working directly with groups of companies. So we work with companies on things like product development. We work with them on marketing, branding, finance, supply chain, all those good things. But also, what we'll be talking about today is, in order to get more leverage and more scale, we work with ecosystems. So all of the institutions around small business that help them to succeed. And that's what we'll talk about with in Zambia in the context a little bit more broadly. And I know that's what you guys are doing every day, basically, is that's your work. We also work on a policy level, but we do this not writing policy, but bringing the voice of business to policy to try to make policy make the most sense for companies and do the least amount of distorting, let's say, of the economy. And then we also work in target markets. And here we're trying to open up markets for the companies we work with through, for instance, trade intelligence, which is something that my colleagues have been doing for a very long time. And we do a lot of international advocacy. And I would say just one more thing over the past few years, whereas my career started all about competitiveness, now we're all about competitiveness, but only in as much as it serves social, environmental, and economic sustainability. So this has become really the driving force behind our work. And we're delighted to be able to work in places like Zambia, where this has become, where the combination of digital and trade has become so important.
All right. Thank you so much for that great introduction. So next, I would like to invite you also to, of course, dig deeper into uh, in the context of Zambia Innovation Week, we would like to know uh, what's your take? What about the digital entrepreneurs? What would you be able to say on that? Also, in respect to the work that you're doing at the International Trade Center.
We recognized also, I mean, I talked about sustainability, but we are also recognize that there really is no competitiveness without digital and without connectivity. And connectivity really drives economic development. It really drives trade, and it brings such big social and economic benefits, including revenue to companies. So we have teams that are working on digital across the world and in Zambia, and we bring all this work together around something we call the digital moonshot. And this is a way that we bring together all the things ITC does, whether it be the company work, the ecosystem work, the work on policy, the work on research, all together to increase our level of ambition to help small companies connect, and to do so in a way that makes them more competitive. And as part of that moonshot, we're looking to work with and connect at least 20,000 companies by next year. We started in 2022. And we're doing this by integrating all of the ways that we work, as I said, from policy to institutions to trade facilitation to business intelligence. And we're doing this. I mean, I'll just mention a couple of the things, and you'll see these come out later when I talk about our work in Zambia. So we're actually facilitating companies to get onto digital platforms. And here we've got thousands of companies who are ready to trade digitally. They just need that push and that help to get to platforms and to be able to fulfill. We're helping them to build their entrepreneurship skills. And here we work in particular with freelancers who are going micro enterprises that are going digital. We do a lot of working with companies to learn to use digital better as a channel, but also companies who are using digital as a business model to be more competitive and to understand the internationalization process, to go international. And we do a lot of this. We do all of this basically, including with you through partnerships. So one of the things, the great values that we have and the great honor we have is to have this power of convening at the United Nations. And that helps us to set up these strategic partnerships where we can bring the right actors together. We can add a little bit of catalytic funding or a little bit of skills and expertise, and we see the partners take off in ways that really impress us and that we could never do ourselves directly. And I think we've worked with you specifically on preparing digital companies to become investable and to go out and get investment. And we've even seen results, millions of dollars in investment for Zambian companies that are doing great things. And Lupia, of course, we always mention these guys because they're doing great. And we hope once they're billionaires that they remember us on their trip.
Indeed, they will remember you, and also they will remember to cultivate back into the ecosystem, which they are already doing, supporting other upcoming business with access to finances. So, yeah, Lupia, they are a leading light. We also have other teams that have benefited from the digital moonshot. We have Boso, several. I think there's quite a number of success stories that have come in, through the programs. You mentioned Investor Event. We have also one success story there with Afri Delivery as one of the beneficiaries from Investor Event. So now, considering your working with the founders, supporting the founders themselves, supporting the support organizations, the innovation hubs, and the other ecosystem builders, while at the same time, like you rightfully put it, bringing the voice of business to policy. What's in your tech would be what would be your take on what makes a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystems? What's your take on that? Like, what would be the secret sauce in building a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Well, first, I mean, I'm going to begin a little bit self-servingly by saying one of the things that makes it is to have connectedness between the different institutions that are making that ecosystem work. So one of the things we've had the pleasure of being able to do in Zambia, but also in other countries, is to map that ecosystem and to say, what are different players doing? How are they connecting? How is that network working? Where is it strong? And also, where are the gaps? So I would say one of the things that makes a vibrant ecosystem is this kind of collaboration and connection between institutions. And I would say you mentioned COVID. I would say COVID taught us a lot about what an ecosystem has to do to be resilient, to come back, what kinds of things it needs to do to pivot. If nobody's coming into business hubs, for instance, how do we pivot to being virtual or providing other kinds of services? And I think it's an interesting moment in Zambia because I know things are not super easy for small companies right now. Things are getting expensive. The economy is maybe flattening out a little bit. And this is really an interesting, challenging time where you're going to see that ecosystem maybe use some of those skills that it learned during COVID about how to help companies get resilient and how to bring together the people within supply chains, how to negotiate with and work with their clients abroad, and how to change a little bit their business models. I mean, we saw in particular the transition a lot of even digital companies made from being presential, from expecting to go to the office every day, to being able to work in a distributed way. But there's some other aspects we know are really critical to a vibrant ecosystem. So I mean, we've been working with you guys on the issue of access to finance. There's got to be that kind of finance that's ready at the key point that companies need it. So Lupia is one that's more advanced, and there's a lot of companies that want to get there, but they need a different kind of capital. Whether they need an angel, they need seed funding, they need startup, and even grant funding. So that's one thing. Of course, you've got to have good connectivity. You've got to have good infrastructure, and it's got to be outside, the Lusakas of the world. It's got to get out to the places where the companies are, and that's also really critical. And it's a cost issue also for those who are exporting services. You've got to have talent, and I think Africa and Zambia is a good is a good example. There's a lot of young people coming out who are educated, who are motivated, who are digital natives, who are going to be the talent pool not only for Africa, but they're going to be a big talent pool for markets outside. So that I think there's a really good future in terms of let's say talent and exportable skills. And then to really make it take off, you also have to have not only an ecosystem but a policy environment like we talked about before that's favorable to this. So we work a lot across countries on startup acts, which set up a system whereby startup companies can receive assistance. Startup companies can be defined, they can be channeled to the right areas, and they can get the right support that they need. But there's other such things about access to affordable broadband, and there's a whole raft of policy areas around e-commerce. So what do we do for fulfillment? What do we do for payment systems? What do we do for other things like data security and so on? So those would be some of the things I would see for a vibrant ecosystem.
All right, that's awesome. You touched a number of things there, and I heard you mentioned the connectedness, meaning to say the vibrant ecosystems, the successful ecosystems around the world, they are connected ecosystems. One of the issues that were highlighted in the ecosystem mapping report that you produced, I think sometime back in the year 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It highlighted that there's lack of coordination in Zambia's ecosystem. Of course, we can't say there's no coordination at all, but maybe we would say in the area of ecosystem coordination, things can be better. We can do much better instead of duplicating our efforts. Working in silos, doing the same thing. Everyone is doing the same thing, and then at the end, our efforts are just parallel they are not complementary. I would like your remarks there on how can we, close this gap? How can we tackle this issue of the lack of coordination in the startup ecosystem? When you look at the ecosystem building organizations, instead of working in silos, how can we go about, forming synergies and working
Mm.
together, for the common goal? I do not know what would you say in a few words.
Yeah, I think, you've got a great resource in the ecosystem mapping that we did. And the good thing about this is it's not something ITC invented. It's the input of all the partners. So they can all see themselves in there. So already you've got a resource to say, we do see gaps here or we see overlaps. I think the second thing is you, you you need to have some leaders within the ecosystem who are willing to kind of get out in front and talk about the importance of this, and that means that means modeling a little bit these kinds of good behaviors, trying to be complementary, trying to be connected. And one of the things we see across a lot of ecosystems, I don't know Zambia as well as I should, but we see startups going from incubator to incubator, from hub to hub, from program to
Mm.
program, and there's not so much of a handoff or a communication between the different ecosystem actors. So that's one of the things that we're starting to see as a nice driver of collaboration, which is to get a sense of which are the groups of companies that are doing this, and what's the next step they need. Maybe they don't need pitching competitions anymore. Maybe they don't need business canvas. They need something a little bit further. And that's another thing we've been trying to do, which is a lot of these need internationalization help. So maybe they've got all the good stuff they can do in Zambia, but they want to go international, and that's where maybe that can be complementary. I think you guys also bring, maybe there's a lot of basic training, but you guys take another step in terms of bringing people to investors. So it's those that are ready to really help them shape and become investable, shape the company and become investable. So it's establishing those leaders. It's thinking about where can we be complementary. Uh, it's also, I think it's important to have government actors who can help be the conveners of this and to help have the conversation going, because they don't have a stake in it in many cases. So they can help to folks to see these different connections and see how they can be complementary. So those are some of the things that we see can help an ecosystem become more coherent. And we also, I think you need to also help us help you. So there's a lot of maybe funders who are coming in and could be doing things that are redundant. So we try to really, keep our ears open and say, we heard from, we heard that maybe, the fundamentals of business canvas, whatever, may be covered. So we're gonna help to position ourselves in another area, and we're gonna really think about this handoff so startups can have one journey through the process. So, but I want to say Zambia is not alone. So this is a challenge all ecosystems face, at least all the ones that we're working in. So it's not easily necessarily solved, but I think it's about this leadership, it's about this convening, and it's about people really taking a look at something like the mapping that you have, and just having an open conversation about that, and seeing where people can fit in.
All right. Thank you so very much. Maybe as we'll be concluding, with in the interest of time, you have been working, doing a lot of capacity building for support organizations like ourselves. There is a reason why you are deliberately, targeting certain support towards enterprise, entrepreneurial support organizations. Now, I would like you to speak to. I know this one might be at gunpoint, but I would like you to speak to the startup founders themselves, the startup founders in Zambia, so that they can really get to a point where they appreciate. I've seen some startups 2, 3 years down the line. They're trying to build a digital product 3 years, 4 years down the line. You ask them, have you participated in any incubation program like within the ecosystem? They say no, we have not participated in.
Mm.
Maybe it could be the attitude of these startup founders towards the local incubators, where most of the times when you interact with these founders, if you want to ask them what could be the challenges that they are facing, you see that most of the cases it's only one thing that they'll mention: it's funding.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
funding. Then when
Mhm.
you start now interrogating, asking them questions, then you can see that funding is the last thing they actually need. They still
Mhm.
have a lot of work. They need to, to build their leadership skills. They need to build
Yeah.
their business models,
Mhm.
and so forth. What would you say direct to the startup founder who is listening right now, and those who are going to listen to the stream recording, in terms of their attitude towards local incubators?
I think it's great. I think first of all, they should come with a very clear ask and understanding of what they need from incubators. People, I think, sometimes get pulled along. Those that do go into programs get pulled along and follow whatever program there is. So understand what you need and communicate it to the incubator. We need this. We don't need that. I mean, the second thing is, I really love what you said. I think, you know, many cases you're a startup founder because you're passionate about what you're doing, but it's not because you're a great necessarily business person or you know what an investor would want to invest in. So be open and listen and absorb the advice that you're getting. A lot of these guys in the incubators do know about commercialization. They know about monetizing, and we know that's the thing that almost all of our startup founders hit. They got a great idea, but they don't get to how do we monetize this? How do we commercialize it? So and that's an openness of spirit. I would say third, be open to to changing course in order to have business success. So you got a baby, you got an idea, you love it, I love it, we love it, but it's also business. So be open to modifying, to going through that. We call it a journey because it is. Go through that evolution, and don't be afraid. We have so many really interesting companies that start off as one thing, but they realize they're good at another. And I got an example in Germany that's really at the top of my mind. There's a supermarket chain called Lidl. Lidl wanted to host their data in Germany. They created a cloud company, and now they're selling cloud services. And I could see them getting out of the grocery business and just selling cloud services. We need to be able to evolve and see what we're good at. And I think the last one, I mean, you've already said it. We have so many people come to us and say, we just need money or just give us a buyer. Uh, take it from me, take it from all of us. It's often, we're often not ready to go there. And so if we go too early, if we go without being careful and understanding what's on the other side, we will find that we're going to be spinning our wheels a little bit. And it's sometimes, not that many opportunities we're going to be in front of a buyer or investor. So let's be careful to get in their shoes, and be ready for that conversation. But I do think also they should push you guys and make sure you're giving them the services they need as well. So let them not just go along with the program, but say we need A and C, but really we're not going to do B.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So here, what I'm getting is that everything borders on communication between the
Yeah.
incubator and the startup founder. You should be very clear in terms of what you're looking for. Of course, there are some times where the startup founder actually would need the help to do some kind of a self-assessment so that they can
Yes.
get to understand exactly what they really need, so that
Mm.
they can set their priorities right. That's where now the openness, which you highlighted, in terms of being open, being flexible. As you're absorbing this knowledge that you are discovering through participating in the local incubators, you need to be flexible, because sometimes it might be time for you to change course. It might be time for you to change your business model because of the new information that you are discovering as you continue to understand the problem and the people who are being affected by the same problem. Rob, it has been amazing having this chat with you, and time is not on our side. We could have gone on and on talking, but yeah, thank you so much for making the time. So, on a parting shot, you can just give any closing remarks. Maybe in there you could consider if there's any intelligence, any leakage you can give us in terms of the digital moonshot program. What's next? What does the future hold for us? Maybe as you are wrapping it up.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for the opportunity. I really enjoy the conversation. A couple of things that I want to highlight. We've got a great program with Absa Bank in Livingston, getting small companies connected. We're working with freelancers who are the next programmers for each of your startups. So we're really happy about that. We've got an e-commerce hybrid learning program where anybody can absorb it and get ready to trade digitally. So those are some of the things we really want people to be part of. And the parting shot is, I mean, right now I think it's going to be a little bit of time for resilience in the ecosystem. Get ready to bounce back in 25, 26. We see things coming back, and that's when the real big money is going to be splashing in. And we're getting ready to see unicorns coming out of Zambia anytime soon.
Thank you so much for that. It's powerful parting shots there. Looking at the current environment right now in Zambia with the droughts that have really affected the economy negatively. Some small businesses are pausing their operations because of the drought induced
Absolutely.
load shedding. So I would like to add to to echo your sentiments, where we should look at this challenge that we are facing just the way same way we looked at the COVID-19 pandemic, how we came together encouraging each other and also spreading the gospel of innovation. I think there are so many great companies all over the world are born out of crisis. When there is a crisis, that's when the human mind is stretched, to be creative in survival mode. So we're expecting to see the companies in Zambia that will come out of these situations and conquer the world. Thank you so much for being with
Absolutely.
us, Robert. We really appreciate.
Thanks again. See you.
Okay, okay, bye. Thank you.